Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're diving into a video about NBA legend John Stockton. We're going to analyze some of the claims made in it and highlight a few inconsistencies that might have been overlooked. I'll get right into it.
Younger fans took a moment to appreciate the greatness of John Stockton.
Yeah, we do appreciate the greatness of his legacy. I don't think anyone who is respectable is not saying Stockton wasn't great. We are just saying he's not as good as you guys make him out to be.
In NBA history? Of course not. In typical form for the disrespectful modern fans, they immediately began taking a dump on him as a player, trashing his legacy.
Well, first of all, I'll be the first one to say that people who completely trash Stockton and say he was only trash are just wrong. But to lump all modern fans together is also wrong. There's a lot of validity to most of the criticisms against Stockton and his lack of ability in certain areas.
Because, quote, Stockton's stats are fake.
All right, now brace yourself for a detailed explanation of something that no one really argues about. Okay, now, finally. Here's the main point he was trying to make about the assists.
Stockton still would have finished with around 15,190 assists, meaning that even without the home game boost, he would still have a lead over Chris Paul greater than 3,000 assists.
I understand that some people really try to say his record is padded, but bro, that's not really one of the main points that people really try to get him at. The main points that we focus on are the lack of true playmaking passes, the disappearance in the finals, the passiveness that he had on open shots, and the lack of having a left hand, which he did not have on an elite level, by the way.
Is the criticism that he's only the NBA's all-time leader because he played alongside of Karl Malone.
I mean, that is valid, though. And if you look objectively at the games, Stockton definitely benefited more from the 6'9", absolute Adonis that Karl Malone was. Karl Malone's physical presence and scoring prowess created numerous opportunities for John Stockton, making it easier for him to accumulate assists. Malone's ability to dominate in the post and draw defensive attention allowed Stockton more freedom to maneuver and set up plays. Furthermore, the consistency and reliability of Malone's performance provided Stockton with a steady and powerful teammate. You know, many of Stockton's assists came from feeding Malone in his sweet spots, resulting in easy points and inflating Stockton's assist numbers. Without Malone's exceptional finishing ability, Stockton would not have achieved the same level of statistical success as a playmaker.
To be fair, who is Kobe without Shaq?
A champion and a finals MVP?
Who is LeBron without Wade?
The greatest basketball player of all time?
Who is Magic without Kareem?
The guy that led the Lakers to championships before and after Kareem?
And who is Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen?
The second greatest basketball player of all time?
Every all-time great benefited from some significant help.
While it's true that many great players have benefited from significant help, the partnership between John Stockton and Karl Malone was uniquely skewed in Stockton's favor.
So to pick and choose which ones to disqualify is completely unfair unless you do it to the rest of the field as well.
The problem with that statement is that players like LeBron or Wade have proven their worth as leaders of their team at some point. They both won championships without each other's help and weren't overly passive in crunch time.
Karl Malone played a total of 19 seasons together. And in that time, there was a total of 10 regular season games where Stockton played without Malone. This was back in the day where NBA superstars played all 82 games with extreme consistency. Regardless of the fact that most of these 10 regular season games were past Stockton's prime, he still managed to average 9.6 assists per game without Karl Malone. This means that if we prorated Stockton's assists without Malone to the rest of his career, he would still have about 14,438 assists, meaning that he would have a lead of 2,300 assists over Chris Paul.
I see what you're getting at, but 10 regular season games is a very small sample size and not enough to fully assess John Stockton's capabilities without Karl Malone. Many variables, such as the quality of opponents, team dynamics, and the overall context of those games can significantly impact performance. To make a fair evaluation, a larger data set and more consistent playing conditions would be necessary, so that assessment is not really an accurate depiction of Stockton's ability without Malone.
So basically, the dumb narratives that are constantly regurgitated about Stockton are just that, extremely dumb false narratives.
Once again, not a big enough sample size to say they are dumb narratives.
2 greatest passers in the history of the game. He wasn't an explosive scorer by any means.
You can say that again because, as a matter of fact, he was too passive.
And was always a threat from 3-point range.
He would be if he wasn't so passive.
An all-time great defensive player.
Okay, you got that one, bro. He was an amazing help defender, probably one of the best for his size.
Mentioning that he's the game's all-time leader in steals as well, and by a country mile. He wasn't a flashy player by any means. He was smooth and methodical. He was extremely smart and
You mean overly safe with the basketball?
as he had an incredible assist-to-turn ratio. He was a master of angles, anticipation, and communication.
That's a fancy way to say he's a good player.
Being considered as an athletic freak. But like other greats in the modern NBA, like Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Chris Paul, John Stockton didn't need to be, as he was fundamentally sound, skilled, and just understood the game better than 99% of the guys within the league.
Well, 99% is a little crazy, my guy.
And never won a single championship. But that's nobody's fault other than Michael Jordan.
Very bad take to say it's only Michael Jordan's fault. Go back and watch those games. Those weren't just Michael Jordan plays. And go back and watch Stockton and Malone and how they couldn't hit shots they made all season. So it kind of is their fault.
You can say that Stockton didn't have a left hand, that he had weak competition, and he had a superstar forward that made him look better than he actually was.
I will.
You're free to have whatever opinion you want. But, you know who I'm listening to the opinion of? The guy who's arguably the greatest defensive point guard in the history of the game, Gary Payton.
And here we go with this narrative. Gary Payton might argue that John Stockton was the hardest to guard. However, this claim is completely considered untrue when comparing Stockton's scoring abilities to more versatile offensive threats. He may feel like that, but that doesn't mean it's true.
Currently, the NBA's reigning Finals MVP is a guy who definitely doesn't have a left hand in his game. At one point, Jaylen Brown was the highest paid player in NBA history, all while NBA fans and NBA scouts knew full well that he was incapable of driving left, dribbling left, and finishing left with any bit of consistency.
First of all, completely different situations. Jaylen Brown's difficulty going left is mitigated by his athleticism and versatility, allowing him to adapt and still be effective. In contrast, John Stockton's precision and predictability were crucial to his team's strategy, making his limitation more hurtful to their games. Well, anyways, that concludes this video. I just wanted to point out the many inconsistencies and flaws that I saw in that video, and how I thought some of it was misleading. Once again, Stockton is a legend, but he's overrated by some.